this is not political. This is a human issue. It's like food.
Yeah.
It's like shelter. It's survival. It's like basic human stuff. Like this just shouldn't be happening,
Right.
regardless of what your beliefs are about other stuff. Like,
And it's
about loving. That's it.
It shouldn't be happening. It's also reaching into everyone's life at this point through internet, through, however they're trying to access children. The demand is high. They're going after. We're seeing it turn up all over the place, and it shouldn't happen. And so it's really gathering the good people, which is a much larger majority, I believe, in the world, and saying no. We're not going to have this. Welcome back to another episode of The Movement, a podcast to help resource, empower, and develop leaders in the fight against human trafficking. I have with me a very special guest, Adam Stielstra. Hello, Adam.
Howdy.
You're so Texan. So, Adam, what do you do? What do you do for a living? Or what do you do in life?
Oh,
what are you about?
Gosh. What am I about?
What are you?
What am I? I don't know. I've been trying to get to the bottom of that for
Maybe
years.
This is it. This is the therapy session.
I don't know.
Do you want me to answer it?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Okay, well, you make films.
Yes.
You're a writer, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're all these things.
Yes.
Fair?
That's fair, yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
I'm here to answer your questions for you.
I'd like to get to know myself through you.
Exactly. Other than having a great taste of music, which, we're not going to talk about much here, but we share similar.
This is not a music podcast?
It's not. I got you in thinking it was, but no.
I got to go.
We're going to go. Let's go into you first, because what have you been doing all your life? Have you been making films? What is your deal?
I have always pursued art in some way in my entire life since I was a little kid, before I even knew I was doing that.
Yeah.
In fact, it took me well into adulthood to realize that about myself. Pursuing art in some way, yeah. I had a band in high school, as many art classes as I could, photography, everything that fit into that category. And when I was 20, I had a very big epiphany in my life where I realized that all the art forms that I love can kind of be pursued in one particular medium, which was film. Storytelling. You get sound, you get music, you have photography, you have moving photography, you have acting, you have writing, you have lighting, even props and makeup and wardrobe. And so you have kind of all the things. You have theater, and you have music, and you have imagery and sound design all wrapped up into one, and writing and storytelling all wrapped up into one medium. And so it was clear to me that I got to kind of play with all those different aspects and weave them into one thing through filmmaking. So yeah, I went to art school, studied film in Chicago in the mid-90s. Yeah, I got into like the film business as a camera assistant. Back in those days, all we shot was film.
Yeah.
No digital existed. There was, like analog video, but that didn't look nearly as good as film. And so I got into the film business while I was still in college as a camera assistant. That's somebody who pulls focus on the big cameras, loads the magazines, unloads them, basically takes orders from the director of photography.
Yeah.
And then I worked my way up because I wanted to be a cinematographer, kind of painting with light, composition, visual composition. And then in 2000, someone recognized my abilities as a director and suggested I direct the next project they had coming up.
Okay.
And I never said no to things.
It's a good general, until you're overloaded, that's a good general rule.
Right. And so I accepted, and just like any other film position job I was offered prior to that, I just said yes, and then worked my butt off to figure out how to do it. So I worked my way up to director from cinematographer. And so the first thing I ever did, it was for a nonprofit. It was a public service announcement. And I don't remember who the entity was, because this is like, it's either 99 or 2000, but it was for a hunger walk. Okay. So like raising funds and awareness to get food to people who didn't have it. So I wrote and directed my first ever thing that went out into the public. That was a television piece. And then after that, I started getting jobs as a commercial director, so doing like national TV spots and stuff for agencies.
Okay.
But I got my first taste of doing what I consider to be meaningful work with that first PSA. I wasn't selling stuff.
Right.
I was helping people.
You started to go, okay, this is where I want to be.
This is where I want to be, yeah. And then after that, every once in a while, I get a lot of these, what I call commercial work, and then every once in a while, this meaningful thing would come along, and I was always happier to do those.
The first time I came across your work was the Numa series.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
Numa, well, so for those who don't know, Numa was a series of 24 short films featuring a then pastor by the name of Rob Bell. He's also an author and just sort of a philosophical thinker, a theological thinker. Rob was the pastor of a church back then called Mars Hill in outside Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I went to school in Chicago, but I had moved back to Michigan, to Grand Rapids as well. So I had a friend who knew Rob, and she told Rob he should meet me. He wanted to discuss ideas about filmmaking, storytelling, but he didn't really know what direction to take it. And so she introduced us, and we hit it off, and I would go to meet Rob at Mars Hill, which was sort of it was a whole, like a mini mall, like a strip mall.
Really?
And it had an anchor store, like a big box store that was gutted, and that was the sanctuary of the church. And then all the stores were like classrooms and offices. So they turned the whole mall into a church, basically. Wow. So we used to go into the sanctuary of the church, just the two of us, and sit there and just spitball ideas. And basically after doing that, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, an hour at a time, 2 hours sometimes, I said, what you really need to do is take some of your sermons and recreate them into short narratives. Turn them into visual stories. Turn them into short films.
Right.
And I love the short film format a lot. That's kind of where I feel like I excel. And he didn't bite for that. He liked the idea, but he didn't see how it was possible. Like through his own eyes, he couldn't imagine that. So what he wanted to do was turn it into like a multi-camera setup where they would film the Sunday morning services and put that out. And I said, well, that's okay if that's what you want to do, but that's not what I do. So I'll put you in touch with some people and good luck.
Yeah.
At that same time, I had a friend who was a producer at an agency. He got laid off, and he said to me, I want to stay in this kind of line of work. Do you have any recommendations? And I said, yeah, we should form a production company and only focus on like really high-end stuff. High budget, big budget, high quality, like just turn down all the little things. And that seemed like a tall order at the time, but it really wasn't. And amazingly, so we formed that company, which was called Process. We formed that in 2001. And then I got a call from these people who knew Rob. Yeah. And they said, Rob told us to call you. Would you come in and meet with us? So I went in and met with these 2 guys, Tom and Tom. And
it's getting very Office Space in here.
And right. It was the strangest thing. I walked into this giant loft space downtown Grand Rapids, had like no furniture in it. It was just this giant empty room. But they did have a card table in the middle, and they had 2 chairs on one side and 2 chairs on the other side. I walked in, they said hello, we made some small talk. They said, Rob told us to call you, thanks for coming in. And they had 3 sheets of paper on the card table, and they said, what we want you to do is read all 3 of these pieces of paper. Each one of them is a story that Rob used in a sermon. If you were to make one of these into a film, we want you to tell us which one do you like the best, basically. Yeah. And then how would you make it? And I'm thinking, wow, this is what Rob and I had been talking about a few months prior, maybe not even, like 6 weeks before. So apparently he liked the idea.
Or it was a seed that grew in his brain. And yeah. I think it's often with people, it's a weird reality when you talk about things, they don't even remember that you talked about it, but it grows, and then suddenly they come back to you and go, I've had this great idea, and you go, oh, well, that's the same idea. Cool.
Right. So I read the 3 pieces of paper, and I picked one that was titled Rain, and they said, okay, so how would you make it? And so, by the way, the pieces of paper were what's called treatments. They're just a 1-paragraph description of a story.
Yeah.
And so I read them all. I picked Rain, and I said, oh, so here's how I'd make it. And what I didn't know is that they had been interviewing people all over the country for this in different states. They'd gone to Chicago and Los Angeles. I don't know where all they went, but I know they chopped around.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, here's how I'd make it. And not only from like a storytelling aspect, but also an efficient production aspect. So it's funny because this ended up being, I got the job, and this ended up being the first film in a series of 24 films, and it set the tone and was the formula for the subsequent 23 after it.
Right.
Their eyes kind of lit up, and they were like, oh, wow, you don't have to... It's a story that takes place in the woods during a rainstorm, and they thought they had to go far away and wait for it to rain, and then quick run out there and shoot it. I'm like, no, this is movie making. We can take liberties here. We can do all kinds of stuff. So we're recreating something. So here's how we do that. Yeah. So anyway, that set the tone for that whole series. The concept of sort of Rob on camera walking and talking, and then building a visual metaphor around him to help tell the story and move it along. Yeah. That was me. That was my influence. That was what I brought to what became a series of 24 films that sold, I think, somewhere between 10 and 20 million copies worldwide. Yeah.
I was on the recipient end of being involved with an organization that was using them in an environment where I was like, this is art. Like in this, something that was really getting to you, bringing a story deeper, more connected, it was beautiful, but it was also, it moved you to action, which was something that we go years later and you're doing a documentary and we come across each other. Bizarre, I think. I was shocked. So I'm in my most corporate-looking office that I have ever had.
Well, we should tell that story.
Yeah, well, why don't you?
Oh, okay.
It's your interview.
Yeah, I always want to interview the person interviewing me. I was producing and directing a documentary about energy. It started in 21. Several people in Houston had been recommended to me to interview for the documentary, and you were one of them. And so I researched you as well as everyone else, so I didn't turn up and interview you and not know what to say or ask. Yeah. And then I discovered this redM organization as another thing that you did, which was fascinating to me because I had been trying to use my skills and my talents as a way to help fight trafficking. And I'd done it in little bits here and there. And so I saw this and I thought, man, I'm going to talk to him about this when I come and interview him for this other film. Yeah, it turns out you looked me up too.
Yeah. And it was funny because you were coming in with a whole film crew kind of set up, and my boss was nervous. And he's like, you better watch that this isn't some kind of trap. And I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. So I dug in. And I think your message, which was funny to me, because the way I read it, and I probably never told you this, but the way I read it was, they said, well, we want to talk to you about oil and gas and energy and new energy. And then I think you said oil and gas and trafficking. There was a line there where it was like, is there something happening in oil and gas I don't know about human trafficking? So that's what made me dig more. I'm like, wait, where are they coming from? Who are these people? Right. Like, is there something? I did a ton of research on where is that happening and is it happening? And so it was really funny.
What did you find?
I found in certain parts of Africa there is some bad trafficking happening around oil production, but it was so unique and weird. It was like, it can't be that, but that does happen. Yeah, that does happen. And we have come across it. We've come across it with construction in the Gulf of Mexico. We've had labor trafficking that happened there. And then I've had people call me when like something seems too cheap to be real, and they go, something's not right here. So yeah, we've had cases where we went after that, but usually in the labor world. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So I pulled you aside while they were setting up cameras and lights and stuff, and I asked you about redM, and then amazingly, you said something about the Numa films and asked about my involvement.
I asked about Rain.
Rain, yeah.
I said I loved Rain because I remember your face where you were like, you weren't used to someone even. You're like, are you from the past? That's an old film of mine, but
yeah.
But I said I loved Rain, I think is the way I said it, and I didn't give you any other context.
Right.
But you knew what it meant.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, so the reason that was so surprising to me is because when we embarked on those films, they're spiritual films, they're Christian-centered films, and we were having a discussion early on as a small group, the top people of that organization and myself and Rob, and we had talked about credits. And I actually said, no, we shouldn't have credits on these films.
Yeah.
Because the credit goes to God, basically. And
right.
they were all like, oh.
That's uncomfortable.
Because they wanted
their name on it.
They wanted so much credit. But they didn't. That was because Rob liked the idea, and so that's the way we went.
It would have made it weird, honestly, in the watching.
There was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we won't go into there, but it was, we needed the message to be the number one thing.
Yeah.
And so I suggested that, and it made people uncomfortable, but it is the direction they took. And so no one knew who made these things.
Right.
My company produced 20 of them. And I worked on several myself, but I was the director, writer, and cinematographer for the very first one. And sometime down the road, somebody, I don't know who, got online and wrote up like IMDb credits for all of them.
Okay.
And so, now if you search it,
you can find
it's
which
there.
Is what happened. That's how I found it.
Right, and I didn't even know about that.
Yeah. So it's weird that
I had to go look myself up, which I had never done.
20 years later, someone turns up and just says, "Hey, good job on Rain," and you're like, and not expecting it before an interview as well.
So the connection that was made there was, in my estimation, the way I see life, like that was a divine appointment. That was meant to happen.
It was crazy. It was unexpected for me as well. I mean, I did not expect that connection. I think that morning I made that connection, and I was pretty excited about it because I really appreciated that work. I was hoping at the time this isn't the end of this relationship, but I thought there's no way this dude will want to hang out with oil and gas guy. But it turned out we both kind of, in fact, the way it happened, you took the QR and you filled out a form, which we had for volunteering.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Jess, who did the follow-up on the forms, called you, and she came back to me and said, this guy wants money, which generally we're like, anyone wants money? No. That was just our rule. This is different because I'm intrigued. Let's have a call. And then we had a call.
Well, but I didn't want money.
Well, that's her interpretation.
I wanted
her
to
interpretation.
Make something.
You knew it would take money to do the work. That was the point.
Right.
What she heard was money. And that's why because anyone mentions it, we're like, yeah, we can't. We just don't have any. We're basically a volunteer group that's operating on zero, everyone donates. Mm-hmm. So if you don't come and say, I can do this fully donated, then we're like, okay. But what you wanted and had a vision for was more. And so I wanted to hear it because I also had seen the work you'd done, and I know that stuff can't happen just by a bunch of people grabbing cameras and trying,
I had lived in Texas for some time, in San Antonio, and I was a creative director for an agency. It's not around anymore, but it was run by a guy named Ken Thompson, who to this day is one of the greatest people I've ever known. Just beautiful human being. And I loved him like a second father, basically. He gave me a lot of creative freedom to just do whatever I wanted. And so I did a lot of stuff in the state of Texas, for the state of Texas, and for different nonprofit organizations based in San Antonio, but also for the state. And it was all non-commercial work. It was all cause-based work. That's what the agency did. Mm-hmm. And I loved that. And I made a feature documentary back then, and I made a lot of television pieces and stuff like that. We were always trying to think of like, what are some causes we'd like to create some things to support?
Yeah.
And I brought human trafficking to the table, and I said, this one I've been kind of trying to fight for the last 4 or 5 years at that point. And I said, I've come up with this model of like an anti-trafficking toolkit, basically, that anyone could get who was like me. So when I first heard about trafficking in 2008, I was immediately convicted. I was immediately like, I got to do something about this. The weight of it, the darkness of it, the evil of it hit me really heavily. And I knew from my early 20s that I had to use my skills and talents and whatever I had to use it for good. Art is something I absolutely love. I couldn't live without it. I really couldn't. But I feel like you need to do more than just create it for yourself. That's a very cathartic thing. And it, like, if it's in you and it wants to come out, like, you have to get it out or it will drive you insane. Which is why Van Gogh cut his ear off, probably. And anyway, but I wanted to always take it a step further and make it about helping people. Like, if I have this ability within me, it's selfish for me to hold it to myself. Yeah. So what can I do to use these skills and eventually this experience to build things and make things that help people? Yeah. And so I came up with this concept of like an anti-trafficking toolkit that someone like me could get my hands on and start, fighting it in my community. And like, if we could empower people like that in mass, that could make a really big difference. And so it was this concept, and we shopped it around the San Antonio area. We talked to people for, financing it or donating to the cause. And I pitched it quite a bit back then. I feel like it wasn't fully realized, and it was definitely not its time to be born. So I shelved it. Myself and Ken, we shelved it, but I never forgot about it. And then when I saw redM and I met you, and I saw the model for redM, it was a perfect fit. And so I took that back off the mental shelf, if you will, and that's what I proposed to you, because you had said to me when we first met, if there's anything you want to try to do or any way you can lend your skills, please let us know. And so that was the thing that I brought to you. And I remember you sent me an email that was so great. It was like the best email I ever got. I sent you the description and sort of the pitch package. You wrote me back and you said, I see it, I get it, I like it. That's all the email said. I love that. Yeah. So that was February of 222. Yeah. That means a lot to me. That you wrote that email back to me. I was actually still working on that same energy documentary at the time. I was in Sausalito when I got your email. Really? So we have been pursuing this for quite some time, February of 22.
Yeah. And so where are you at with the films? And what are they? Maybe tell us a bit about that.
When I come to Houston and I meet everyone or go to different fundraising dinners we've had and stuff like that, we talk about the films. And yes, there are films, but there's more to it than that. And so, again, this is like trying to take my abilities and my experience and what I've done and how I know how to do things, and then just sort of gifts I've fortunately been given is to apply it to these 1-minute films. I guess the best way to categorize them, if that needs to happen, is to call them PSAs, but they're way more than that.
Public service announcements, yeah.
Public service announcements, right. So they're far more than that. What they really are dramatic recreations or retold stories of actual events that were told to me by victims, by survivors, by people who may have been involved in some way in the rescue or in the somewhere along the line in the story of these real events. When I was trying to get involved in fighting trafficking early on, from 2008 to 2013 or 14, I have met countless survivors. I don't even know. I know I shot a project once where I think we shot around 15 to 20 survivors in 1 week. Yeah. And they told their complete stories, no holds barred. It was an intense week. I can't imagine being them, but it was hard enough for us to just sit there each day and hear these stories, which seemed like they just got worse one after the other. And I got to spend time with them, off camera too, and just having meals with them and talking with them. And then just over those years, I've spent a lot of time with people in office, law enforcement, lots of different survivors.
I noticed the other day when we did a radio show and the DA for Fort Bend came out, you were like, I need to talk to you. I've got to continue learning. Like you're never done with that process of I need as much information as I can on everything that's happening.
That's right, because that all goes into the storytelling, right? So here's something that people don't understand. We're making these 1-minute films to be seen by as many people as possible. So you need to
Yeah.
go out everywhere that they can be seen.
And critical to how to reach people in this subject. People don't want to know. So you have to take them from, I don't believe this relates to me, to I have to do something.
I have to do
And you have 1
something,
minute.
Right? You have, right. So that's it. You have 50 seconds
Yeah.
in a 1 minute piece, because 10 seconds at the end is called the call to action.
Yeah.
And that's the information. So we've got 50 seconds to tell a story that is strong enough that it moves you to action.
Yeah.
We've got to do that so effectively that hopefully hundreds of thousands of people will be moved to action, if not millions.
But when you do that, you put yourself in the middle of what I would say the community of people who've lived through this always feel hard done by, because dramatization feels like the worst thing to them, as you're not telling the exact story exactly as it is. How do you cope with that? How does that work?
You've got 50 seconds to tell a story. Go.
Yeah.
I don't care how real or how dramatic it is, or how sort of representative or non-representative it is. Like,
so
good luck telling a story in 50 seconds. But then on top of that, you have to grab the attention of, you've got to take them through a whole journey in 50 seconds. Because that 50 seconds really, 1 minute is like the time slot that we can use to get it on television, streaming platforms.
Regular ad space, I assume.
Ad space, yeah. And then also short attention spans for social media and stuff.
Sure.
So you've got to depict something that grabs people's attention in a short period of time, makes them feel, right? It pulls them out of their normal day, whatever they were feeling at the time before they stumbled on this. And then they go down this quick journey, and all of a sudden they've got these emotions, and now they want to do something about it. That right there is a psychological, it's manipulation. It's grabbing someone and saying, this is happening, and you can do something about it if you have any heart at all and want to help. And so I don't have the time to be realistic. I don't have the time to tell the whole story.
Yeah.
And so what I've done is I've created a formula of storytelling that inserts the viewer into the most critical moment.
Yeah.
The moment where something bad is happening, but there's a glimmer of hope there at the end, that there are good things happening to help prevent this, but we need more help. And that's you, that's the viewer, that's the person watching the film.
So I take it as this is kind of the bait, we're going to draw someone to something. What is that? Where do they actually learn what's going on and start to want to know more?
They see one of the films, and then there's a call to action at the end. And it's basically saying, here's how you can help fight this. Once they follow that quick link, the thing they end up seeing on the other end is this, now it's a digital, it's not actually a physical toolkit, but it's a digital, if you will, toolkit, blueprint, instruction manual, plan on here's what little old me can do in my neighborhood, my community, to help prevent my kids, my neighbors' kids, people in my community from being victimized by trafficking. And also some ability to report it if they see suspicious activity. So you are no longer helpless. So if you want to help fight it, you can, and this empowers you. It's an empowerment tool, but it's realistic. And it's also not dark. It's not, you don't have to spend your day really delving into the darkness of what trafficking is. Instead, you can be uplifting and sort of just put on events and create awareness with all the tools that it gives you without ruining your day.
Which is the redM model, really, is to create environments and tools and methods for people. So, I mean, really, it's us taking what we've already learned and saying, this can work. We have the model, we've tried the model, we've grown the model.
Right.
This can work, and we're seeing it actually work, and so now it's multiplication time, where we're like, okay, now let's put that into something digital that someone can adopt and get the help that they need and the tools that they need.
Right.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So how do you let people know that exists? You have to advertise it. And so these 1 minute films are ads to point to the toolkit. Now, if I just put an ad up that said, do you not like human trafficking. Okay, there's a toolkit. Sorry, we can't depict this in any kind of dramatized way that grabs your emotions and makes you want to move. Instead, we've got to be stale. No, that's not going to be very effective, right? So we need to create something that grabs your heartstrings, pulls at them, and moves you to action. And that's what the design of these films is for.
I think what surprises people is you see it, you think you're in a movie. I mean, you watch it, and there's a lot of people like, I want to know the backstory, I want to know the rest of the story, I want to watch the movie. That's the response we've had when we've shown it, and I think that's really important. But that also is back to, it costs some money to produce these things. So I mean, we're doing lots of people giving and donating and doing all sorts of stuff to make that happen.
Yeah.
But a lot of interest in that. So that is one area, I think, because one of the things I usually ask is there anything that you need? What things do you need from people who are listeners? Is there anything that you would want? And I know where are you in the process? How about that?
In the process of
developing this whole project.
Finishing the whole thing. So we have made 4 1-minute films, and we are currently in the process of developing the whole toolkit. Mm-hmm. So that's happening right now. I've got a small team of people, and like you said earlier, none of this can happen for free.
Right.
But here's the thing. Once it's made and it goes out into the world, the redM model continues.
Mm-hmm.
We want your skills, we want your time, we want your efforts. We're not looking for money.
Yeah.
But we have to build this thing first to be able to grow that movement and sustain it and continue to draw interest. So right now, we've got a small team of people developing the app mm-hmm. and other materials that go into that. We've made 4 1-minute pieces, films, ads for the toolkit, if you will. We need to make 2 to 3 more. And the reason for that is trafficking has a lot of different faces.
Yeah.
And we don't want to neglect the different ways that it happens here in the United States. So we need to tell a bunch of different stories. Right now we've got 4 very different scenarios, but we need to cover it better. So we need to tell 2 to 3 more, I think, right now. But I do think that that's an ongoing thing. Like, as we grow this whole thing and release it into the world, there's going to be more scenarios that occur. Right. And the more we can tell people that the trafficking looks like this, it looks like this, it looks like this, the more they'll be able to recognize it and help prevent it. This is ultimately a prevention tool, right?
There's avenues for people in specialty areas. So, for example, we've done work with the airports and airlines, like specifically there's a story around that hasn't been filmed yet. So there are scenario options as well if people want to come in and fund and be a part of that. That's something they can do. There's also, I think we have a foundation looking at it right now saying, okay, we'd like to donate. We're looking for that kind of interest level. So most of the people who have donated towards this are in the much wealthier part of society, and they've been willing to just step up and do that work. Actually interested, which is good. They're driving towards it. They want that. So that's good. And then there's just general campaign, which you can go to the website, joinredm.com, and there's a place that you can go for donations specifically. There's methodologies to get in touch and to follow up, because usually I would ask that question, but I mean, we're hosting a lot of that. But so they can get in touch with you, get in touch with us. Right.
Yeah. And I will say, we've had to throw these fundraising dinners, and we've mostly it's been dinners, I know, but we've had funds come in different ways from generous donations from people. And I do want to go on the record saying thank you to all of you who have given to this, because it's not being wasted. It's being put to work, and this will make a difference in the world. There's no doubt about it. A really cool thing about this, too, is that it's the first of its kind. Yeah. No one's ever done this. When was the last time you saw an anti-trafficking thing on television? You do see them more, posters and little announcements in airports and things like that, but it needs to be bigger. It needs to cover more ground. Yeah. We need to make it a household topic.
Yeah. And I also hear from people who see those and they send it, but they see it because I've talked to them and they're seeing it for the first time, even though they saw it before. So the attention grabbing hasn't been happening. Sometimes it's politicized. Sometimes it's, seems like a religious thing that people are doing. And so That's a big thing for us to non-political, non-religious. It's all
I
society.
love that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. This is a human problem.
Yeah.
This is not political. This is not religious. Those things should not even be considered when first really considering this issue of capitalizing on atrocious behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good heavens. I can't believe there are people in this world that want to do that.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, but also...
Well, to be fair, I don't think people are trying or thinking that way. They just have a mindset of this polarization.
No. I mean the act of trafficking. Like, I can't believe there's people...
Okay, I thought you were talking about people. Okay, just got to be clear.
So, no, I can't believe there's people in the world that want to traffic
actually
people.
do that.
I can't wrap my head around that. But, nor do I want to.
Yeah.
But this is not political. This is a human issue. It's like food.
Yeah.
It's like shelter. It's survival. It's like basic human stuff. Like, this just shouldn't be happening.
Right.
Regardless of what your beliefs are about other stuff. Like,
and it's
about loving. That's it.
It shouldn't be happening. It's also reaching into everyone's life at this point through internet, through, however they're trying to access children. Their demand is high. They're going after. We're seeing it turn up all over the place, and it shouldn't happen. And so it's really gathering the good people, which is a much larger majority, I believe, in the world, and saying no. We're not going to have this.
If you so I have 2 kids who I dearly love.
Well, that's good.
And at the time that I first heard about trafficking, my son was 2 years old. I immediately thought about my child when I first heard about it. And it made me nauseous. I physically felt nauseous when I thought about it. If people could just stop for a second and really consider, find love in your heart and be empathetic. Put yourself in the shoes of people who are being sold and capitalized on for this against their will. Just do that for a second. If you have to, think of your kids or think of your grandkids. Wouldn't you want to stop that?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a basic question. If you have an ounce of love in your heart, the answer should be no. That should not happen. I do want to stop that. The answer is yes, I want to stop that. What can I do? Yeah. And so I just feel like there's not enough people out there even thinking about this. And I think it's the darkest subject out there, really. But what redM is doing and other organizations too is so important. But I think we need to turn this, and this is what this whole campaign is about, what we're building here. It's about letting as many people know about it as possible so that at least some of them feel convicted enough to take action. And that's what it is. So any kind of pushback for me is well, what does that say about you? Come on, let's put politics and religion and bureaucracy aside and start caring about these people who need our help, not ourselves. We're okay. If we can fight it in any way, that means that we're doing okay. Here's another thing, too. I see nonprofit organizations are typically grassroots based. And so they really only reach as far as their immediate community. And I think that's kind of a shortcoming of a lot of nonprofits. Not all, but a lot need to think more in a business sense of you have a product, which is your service or your cause, and you need to sell that. And so you need to approach it more as a marketing and business strategy. And so storytelling and filmmaking, if the nonprofits and these anti-trafficking organizations are the grassroots, storytelling comes in on this massive national scale and is like a rain cloud that grows the grassroots. That's how I see it. It's raining down on all these small organizations and it's growing it taller and greener and bigger. And we're so far down this path that it's really going to be us that makes that happen. We're the big thundercloud that comes in and rains down these tools onto these smaller grassroots regions of the country and empowers them as well as individuals to help fight it on a larger scale and to unify in that process, to get together, to make that whole anti-trafficking community a national one that reaches from coast to coast.
Beautiful picture. Thank you. Thanks, Adam, for coming on. We are out of time now. We could go on for hours, I'm sure.
We could.
But I really appreciate you coming and giving us your insight and wisdom and for the work that you're doing. So thank you so much. And hopefully we can have you back sometime.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We will see you next time.